At around 120,000 miles, your Mazda 3 brakes will need to be serviced. If you look at the rotors and you see deep grooves forming, then you will know that your brake pads are no longer stopping the car properly. Fortunately, this Power Stop brake kit found on Amazon comes with all of the things that you would need to replace your brakes. It comes with brand new brake pads, fresh new rotors, and all of the necessary hardware so that you can change your brakes right the first time. Let's get started. Start by locating the jack point right behind the front wheel of the car. Slide your jack into position and lift the car until the wheel is just off the ground. Place a jack stand under the side sill and lower the car until it is just touching the jack stand. Next, take a 21mm socket and either a breaker bar or an impact gun and remove the lug nuts from the wheel. Next, lift the wheel off the hub and set it to the side. Since these bolts haven't been touched in 120,000 miles, we're going to make life easier for ourselves and spray penetrating fluid on all of the bolts we're about to remove. I like to use PB Blaster, but WD-40 will also work. Now we're going to take our 14mm socket and ratchet, and we're going to remove the slide pin bolts from the top and bottom of the caliper. I don't own a metric wrench set, so I used an 11/16 wrench in order to help remove the slide pin bolts. You can use a 17mm wrench though. That would be the closest equivalent. Place the wrench on the nut holding the slide pin bolts in and brace it against anything that it can turn against. Once the slide pin bolts are removed, take the brake caliper off of the carrier and set it on top of the steering knuckle. Next, remove the brake pads from the brake pad carrier. Once these are out of the way, use your 17mm socket and ratchet to remove the bolts from the brake pad carrier and detach it from the steering knuckle. Now remove the rotor. With the old brake rotor out of the way, place a new one on the hub and secure it with a lug nut. Use a screwdriver to remove the old hardware from the carrier. Now open the bag of new hardware and press it onto the carrier. Now reattach the brake pad carrier to the steering knuckle using the 17mm bolts. For the next step, open the hood and remove the lid from the brake fluid reservoir. Carefully lay the brake caliper on its back and use your caliper spreader to open the caliper all the way. If you don't have a caliper spreader, I highly recommend purchasing one for this step as it makes it so much simpler than trying to do it another way. With the brake caliper fully open, set it back on top of the steering knuckle and install your brake pads. Make sure to push the brake pads all the way into the carrier so that they are flush with the rotor. Finally, take your brake caliper and fit it over the brake pads and secure it in place with the slide pin bolts. Now take your torque wrench and set it to 72 foot-pounds of torque and attach your 17mm socket. Tighten the caliper bracket bolts to 72 foot-pounds. Next, take your 14mm socket and tighten the slide pin bolts to 22 foot-pounds. This won't feel like much, but this is what they are tightened to from the factory. Now hang the wheel on the hub and tighten the lug nuts, but not all the way. Use the jack to lift the car off of the jack stand and remove it. Carefully lower the car to the ground. Using your torque wrench and your 21mm socket, tighten the lug nuts in a star pattern to 89 foot-pounds per lug nut. Place the cap back on top of the brake fluid reservoir and close the hood of the car. Start your Mazda and push the brake pedal as hard as you can a couple of times to make sure that brake fluid is all the way into the calipers. Don't forget to bed your new brakes by slowing from a high speed a couple of times. You may see your front brakes start to smoke during this process, but that's just the new pads depositing material onto your new rotors. As long as your brake pedal remains firm during this process, then you have nothing to worry about.